Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 107. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit the subscribe or follow button on the platform you're listening through. And be sure to check us out at theloudest.com on the planet, KNAC.com. My guest for this episode is Vincent Lane. He is the bassist and vocalist for the hard rock act Relation. The band is out of the New York, New Jersey area. They released their debut EP in January of 2021 called What Lies Beneath. They've recently re-released a single from that EP called FYI, complete with a new music video. They have a new EP that they're working on that comes out this spring. We're going to find out more about that and more about the debut EP. So here's Vincent Lane of Relation. If I knew absolutely nothing about Relation, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Concept-based grunge alternative metal. So the songs are always conceptually based. So we write a lot about relationship issues, childhood trauma, and how to kind of circumvent those and grow to your best self would be the best way we put it. The music is definitely in the vein of alternative metal with a little bit of a grunge sprinkling in there.
Okay, and you say that it's conceptually based and you kind of write about serious subjects. Are these more from a observatory point of view, or is this stuff that you've kind of lived through?
I think both, honestly. Interestingly enough, one of the other songs off our debut EP, What Lies Beneath, entitled Isabella, is about women that I've known, women I've heard about in discussions with others. So we try to do it holistically, so there's a more of a kind of a universal slant to it, so people get a chance to kind of see if it's relatable for them. And we feel with a lot of the feedback we've gotten, we feel very good to know that, you know, the things that we've gone through as individuals are things that others have gone through as well, and maybe together we can kind of help each other get through it.
Let's talk a little bit about the EP, What Lies Beneath. It came out in January of 2021, but recently you've put out FYI. You've re-released it as a radio cut. What is kind of the meaning behind that particular single?
Well, honestly, when I wrote it and the perspective I was in then, I kind of looked at how people present their lives through social media, through their interactions with others, and the authenticity of it with regard to what's real, which is their real life, versus what they paint as a picture online or through their interactions with other people. So we kind of talk a lot about that and how the protagonist in the song can kind of see through it and understands that there is a lot more truth in what's not seen versus what's seen.
And that's kind of depicted in the music video that you shot for this single.
Exactly. Yeah, we feel like it's just, especially in this day and age now, social media can create narcissistic behavior, would be a term for it. And, you know, the idea that people just really aren't very authentic with how they really are and what they struggle with. And they paint this idyllic picture of themselves and their lives online. So, yeah, you can definitely see it in the video where there is, you know, the wonderful pictures taken and the happy situations that are going on and depicted online versus really what's going on in that relationship.
You mentioned the song Isabella, and that was also released as a single earlier over the last year or so. And the other one was Selfish. So if you want to talk a little bit about the meaning behind Selfish.
Interestingly enough, I know myself, we've dealt with a lot of addicts. They're strewn about in our society, whether they're addicted, whatever their substance is, whether it be drugs and alcohol or attention or whatever that happens to be. And the idea that those people truly are self-involved to the point where their perceptions and their wants and needs override everything else, no matter if it's affecting anybody else and how they act and how they show up in the world. And that's a song that's kind of just depicting that and how it seems to be running rampant. And I can't tell you that it's directly correlated with social media, but it seems like more and more over the last few years, it seems to be more and more prevalent with that. And I think we see the addict mentality with people posting inane subject matter all over their social media. And how they present themselves. Again, it's a lot about just trying to be as real as possible, and trying to get to the root of why people feel the need to have these behaviors.
You mentioned a couple of times about sort of the negative aspects of social media. Do you think that this became a little more worse as we were all kind of locked down and it was really the only outlet for a lot of these narcissistic tendencies?
No question. And I feel like it's very interesting how that really probably ballooned at that particular point, where people didn't have the social interactions they normally would. So again, they had to get their feed somewhere else. When it would be in the past, you could, people can vampire off each other. There wasn't that actual connection. So they had to present it online and wait for likes and wait for comments and all these reaffirmations of themselves. And absolutely, I think that's been a problem. And again, it's just carried over now that we're, back in full interaction with each other. That doesn't seem to have mellowed it at all. It seems to actually still on the incline, unfortunately.
Are you the main songwriter for the group, Vincent, or does Relation kind of do things collaboratively?
Lyrically, I write a lot of the material. We collaborate as a whole. Steve, our guitarist and producer, is involved heavily, as is Matt, with the creation of the material. And I, as a lyricist, will kind of listen to the tone and tenor of a piece that we've written and kind of try to match up lyrically what we can talk about based on, the tenor of the material. So it's a real collaborative effort, and it's fantastic the way we all work together.
With the What Lies Beneath EP, you guys really only release this digitally with like a strict limited run of physical CDs available? Yeah.
And again, that's how it looks to us now. I mean, I feel like just in this environment that people are there. I mean, there are people like myself that want the physical copy. I like to look at the artwork. I want to read the words along. I want to see, kind of how the presentation of the album is, because it's a big part of it. Just like as songwriters, we kind of have when we mix and master songs, they kind of have a collective feel. So the album, all the artwork that we have with it is kind of like one cohesive piece. But in this day and age, we wanted to give people the option to just be able to just download it if they wanted to. And those people that have, we've also offered a discount on the physical copy if they want that as well.
Relation is pretty much a all independent band. You guys are pretty much putting these physical things together yourself and putting the production together yourself and getting it out there yourself. So I assume that there's a little issue with funds in actually making physical products and whatnot.
It's, in this day and age, I got to tell you that it's been much more affordable for independent artists. I mean, there are a lot of outlets to get your material out there, whatever format you want it in. And it gets to the point where you're able to do pretty much anything a label would do for you yourself, whether it's booking a tour, whether it's putting out merch and physical materials for your products. So we've been very lucky. We're very committed to getting out a good product. We do a lot of things in-house, mixing and mastering. Steve, our guitarist, is a brilliant producer. So we're able to take a lot of those costs in-house, which is for us, it's a game changer.
You do have some partnerships in the game. You recently partnered up with Symphonic Distribution, which is to kind of get your music heard in other avenues, such as media, commercials, and movies, correct?
Yeah, sync for us is a very large part of what we do. And, in addition to playing live, it gives us another outlet as well, because the Relation project is what it is too. We were able to get it in front of a lot of ears that you normally might not be able to as an independent artist with the sync opportunities with all these companies at this point really accepting and listening to material that is presented to them. And we feel our material, based on the fact that we have the capability of presenting the stems as necessary, instrumental, non-vocal, vocal, to give an opportunity to get these songs heard by a mass audience. In this day and age, it's been so advantageous for independent artists.
And of course, by way of public relations, you have Pavement Entertainment. How did you guys end up hooking up with them?
Actually, they were. It was pretty interesting. We were our presence online, they were advertising and they had said that they had some openings for some new acts. So we approached them, and the partnership's been fantastic. They're very supportive in what we do, and getting us in the right, getting us in front of ears, if you will, and talking to great podcasts like yourself. And just they've been very vital in this aspect of it. They work very hard, and they've been great.
Does Relation have plans to tour nationally, or are you going to keep it local? I know you're in the New York, New Jersey area, which is quite big to begin with, but do you plan on expanding beyond that at some point?
Absolutely. We have, the opportunities are right. And I say in this day and age, it's fantastic because as an independent artist, we have the opportunity through companies like Pavements who get presented with tour opportunities. So we're just going to look for a good match musically for us, and we'll make a determination. And again, what we're doing is no different than what a label would do. We're just, again, kind of just like an independent business where we're able to fund ourselves and get these opportunities that bands maybe 20, 30 years ago wouldn't have been able to, because it was all label based, and these relationships were not able to be forged by yourself independently. So yeah, I mean, if the opportunity looks like it, and at this point, the way we target market our material, we know where pockets of fans of ours would be. So we would be able to kind of carve out something based on that. And yeah, the opportunities are there, and we'll make a determination at that point. And the world is our canvas. So wherever there's a need and a good fit, we're definitely going to be open to it.
What Lies Beneath EP's been out for a little bit, and you guys have been kind of sharing teasers on your Facebook page of new material. So how far along are you on the new EP?
Oh God, we're anticipating a mid-April release of a new EP entitled Revealed. We've got some really strong material on this. We've grown a little bit, so there's a little more of a prog edge to it, but it's still Relation. It's still going to have the hooks. It's still going to have the melodies. Steve and I are still going to sing the parts we do to kind of support the changes in the music. It's been really cool. We think our fans are going to really enjoy it, because it kind of, from a storyboard slant as a writer, it gives you an opportunity to really support the lyrical content with differentiated musical pieces, but they're all collective. So it really allows us the opportunity to kind of be as creative as possible. We still think, though, the audience will dig and know the Relation sound. It's gonna be like us. It's just gonna have a little more prog slant to it.
So that prog slant you made known with the single release of Chase the Ghost not too long ago.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that was interesting. Steve and I one night just decided to kind of put a little orchestral part in the beginning, and we felt like that kind of really helped build the song up as a natural. And just as a little aside here, that's going to be the lead song on the EP, because we just feel like that's like the perfect opening song. And yeah, so you can see kind of the growth, but it still has the hook. It still has the lyrical content that we're kind of known for at this point. So
how many songs you thinking going to be on the EP?
We're going to do it with 5 again. We feel that that's a good pocket for us. We're just about there at this point, and we're making determinations on what songs are going to be placed on this. And yeah, we're excited. And I know it seems a little weird because FYI is a little bit of an older song, but we feel like this is going to dovetail well with the new release. People are going to get to know the older stuff and just kind of streamline right into the new piece that's coming out.
Do you feel the EP format is what plays best as far as how people consume music today? Because you could easily put together a full album with the amount of material you have out.
Yeah, I think so. Because again, we do know in this day and age that singles are kingpin. So we do release a single along with the EP. But I still think that there's a huge faction of our audience and audiences in general that do like a compilation, and as an artist, I think it's really important because this grouping of songs sounds a little bit different from a mixing and mastering position, not because we're trying to do something different. It's just because we're different people, because it's a year and a half later and our interests are, everything evolves. So you're going to know our goal is when you hear a song off Revealed, you're going to know it's us, but you're going to know it's off a different record than What Lies Beneath. So there's going to be a little bit of a spin on how things might sonically sound. You know, and then when I used to listen to CDs growing up, I enjoyed that. And I would be someone who would be able to go, all right, I know that particular song, even if I haven't heard it before by an artist, I know that's off that record because I can hear it in the production and the songwriting and kind of the meld of the two. So we kind of strive for that because I think pieces need to have a cohesiveness to them.
How did you and Matt and Steve come together to form Relation?
Well, it was interesting. I met Matt through a prior member of this project. This was 8-9 years ago, and we had started by just playing some covers. We were playing some shows locally where we were, and that went along for a while. And then we brought Steve aboard. Matt and Steve had known each other through various projects. The original member that brought us together left to do his own thing, and then we just started writing. We just seemed to have a real chemistry about that, and it's grown from then. And then we decided on a direction, and since then it's just been fantastic.
Was there something that inspired the band's name?
Yeah, interesting. Most people ask about it in the differentiated spelling. So really, relation is how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. So we're all relative, whether we're relative to our our inner self, and how we really reconcile how we are with ourselves and how that transfers outside. So relation really, in my mind, was about the idea of relating to each other on a real level with authenticity and the ability to kind of show where you are and show yourself and say, hey, you know what, I'm a work in progress. I'm working through things, but I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday.
When you're not doing original material with Relation, are you still out doing the 90s to 2000s tribute band Flannel Millennium?
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, the reason why I got locked out today, George, was the fact that we're at a casino in Atlantic City. We just had a show last night with Flannel Millennium playing a Super Bowl party. And Atlantic City is Philadelphia Eagles haven. So we played before the Super Bowl and after, and it was a little more somber after the game for the fans of the Eagles here. But it's been a great thing. Yeah, we're actually, that's interesting. We're in a hotel room right now having this conversation with you.
Do you draw any inspiration off of the music of the 90s and the 2000s when it comes to your material? I think there definitely was a shift music-wise from the carefree days of the 80s to the 90s and 2000 when it came to songwriting. Yeah,
I think for me, growing up when I did, 90s were very impacting, and I liked the seriousness of the lyrical content. I thought they said a lot, and they were heartfelt in their sentiments. And for us, I mean, I think what we do, and just me naturally as a lyricist, I kind of write in that vein. So Matt, Steve, and I kind of tap in from the same well of that 90s and 2000s being most impactful for us. So yeah, I think we definitely draw on it. And it's interesting playing some of the material that we played last night in the cover songs. We can kind of hear influences from it into what we write.
Now, a lot of bands are out there doing cameo shout out messages to their fans. You're actually offering to customize a song for your fans. Yeah.
Actually, it's a very interesting situation. It came upon us based on the fact that we feel like we have, and this actually dovetails with the sync stuff. We have a lot of different influences as most musicians do, and a lot of different interests. So we just found ourselves being able to write in a lot of different veins. Steve, not only our producer, but produces a lot of hip hop as well. And at that point, it allows us the kind of the flexibility and creativity to do that. So if someone's going to come to us and say, hey, I got this event coming up, you think you can come up with something? We have a conversation with them and see if we can get to a point where we can kind of capture the moment for them in a song. And then there's nothing better because you'll always have that song to remember. And that's how, I mean, music is like that for most of us, it kind of if you hear a song you haven't heard in a while, it kind of brings you back to that particular time when you were listening to it. So that's the wonderful magic of it.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Vincent. I had a great time learning about Relation, and the current EP is What Lies Beneath. It's out now, and the next EP is out in just a couple of months.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, George. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.
Once again, I want to thank Vincent Lane of Relation for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their current EP, What Lies Beneath, on your favorite music streaming platform. If you like what you hear, and they're still available, there were some limited edition physical copies of the album through the band's website. Head over to relationmusic.com, that's REAL, and buy yourself a copy. I also want to thank Barbara Papa George and Pavement Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. I'll see you again soon.